Hi everyone, in this video we're going to talk about using Git and GitHub. So I'm actually just going to go to the Classwork 1 page because we're just going to go through what we need to get done for Classwork 1. So part of Classwork 1 is making sure you have a GitHub account and creating a repository for this class. So if you already have a GitHub account, you can just use that. If you don't, I will show you how you can make one. So I'm just gonna search GitHub and I'm gonna sign up. So this is just gonna be test MSU student. You can't use an email address that you've already used for a different GitHub account. So yeah, if you already have one, you should just use that account. But I'm going to make one student.montana using that. And then I'm just going to make a throwaway password here. And you're going to need to verify spirals. Ooh. Alright, so now I can create my account. Sure, Safari, you can save my password. And here I am. So let's just go back to the Classwork page and see what we need to do. So we need to create a Git repository for the class. We just did number 1, create our GitHub account. Now we need to make a private Git repository named CICI 112 2021 first name last name. So I'm going to copy that and just go over here and see if I can make that repository. Your repositories seems like a good place to start. And I'm going to say new. Ooh, okay, I need to verify my email address. So I'm going to do that, pause the video, and come back. Okay, I have verified my email address. So now I'm going to create that repository. And I think I do not have the repository name anymore. So I'm just going to copy it again, paste that in here. And then just use whatever first name and last name you prefer to go by. There's nothing like automatically linking this to your like official name or anything. So for me, I would use Lucy Williams. And if we take a look back here, this needs to be a private repository. And the reason for this is that we don't want other students in the class or future students to be able to just go look at your repository in case future instructors use the same programming problems that I use. So this is the name, and for our purposes we can just ignore everything else here because we're just really using this to keep track of our work. And now we have created that repository. Now let's see what to do next. So we need to clone it into our home NetID directory. So that's on the server. So I'm just going to go log into the server. And I do that with SSH. I know this now. cs.montana.edu. And if I look at where I am with PWD, I see that I am indeed in my home NetID directory. If somehow you were already on the server, you were somewhere else, you could always just do cd and then tilde, and that is an alias to your home directory, and it would put you right there. You can see here I still am there. So next I need to clone it using git clone And there is a mistake here. So this actually works for me, but for you, this should be your username and then your name. But this is actually going to work for me. So, but you would need to change this to your name, whatever you entered, and then also your GitHub username. So my GitHub username is testmsustudent, so this should work. And this warning is fine. You can just ignore it. And so my username, what was it? testmsustudent. And, ooh, the password. I don't know it. So I'm going to pause here and get that password really quick. Okay. I got my password in I copied it, and so hopefully this works. Okay, that's fine. We cloned an empty directory. That's what we meant to do. But we can see that we now have a directory with that repository name. And we could use cd to go inside of it, change directory. And so we did that. Let's see what we need to do. So here's another note. If you've used GitHub before, or if you just want to use sort of a more secure way to save your password, you can use an SSH key. So GitHub has a tutorial on this, but you can also let me know if you want any help. But doing this method is just fine. All right, so inside here, let's create the 3 directories that we were told to create. So here I am, there's nothing in here. We could see, actually we can see a hidden file called .git, but we can just ignore that for now. You can always Google it if you have questions or ask me. And so we needed to make classwork, labs, and programs. So let's do those. We can use our mkdir classwork, mkdir labs, and mkdir programs. And now I can use ls to look at those. There they are. And now, inside my classwork directory, I need to make another directory. Make directory classwork1. See that it's there, and then I'm going to change directories into that directory. And then what do I need to do? Create a file called firstfile.txt. So we saw that we could do that using touch first file. So that would work, but I'm just going to do vim first file.txt, because if a file doesn't already exist, it just gets created when you open it with vim. So if I press enter, now I'm in normal mode, and I can press I to get into insert mode, and it says put whatever you want in. And so, for example, I can say this is my first classwork assignment. And then to get back to normal mode from insert mode, I press escape. I press :WQ to write and quit. Now it says add LGW2 as a collaborator so that I can pull down your work to grade it. So to do that, I can go back to my browser, and so I'm in this repository here. So in this repository, if I go to settings, and then I go to manage access, so we can see it's a private repository. then I can say I would like to invite a collaborator. So this is my GitHub username. And so if you invite me to be a collaborator, now I'm going to be able to see your code. I'm going to be able to see that you did your assignment on time. So that's why you need to add me as a collaborator. Then I will accept your invitation to collaborate and I can grade your work. So that's done. Okay, added LDW2 as a collaborator. Now, so here we're kind of just going through the motions of using Git, which I think is a good way to learn, make sure that you can do some things and we'll just learn as we go. So one of the reasons to use something like Git is that we can what's called version control our repository. So we just are going to keep a record of as we make changes using commits. So if I want to see what has been changed in my repository, my CSCI 112-2021 Lucy Williams repository, I can use a command called git status. And this did not do, I kind of thought that first file would be in there. But for now, we'll just go with it. So so that Git knows that I want to keep track of first file.txt, I need to do git add first file.txt. And then I'm going to press enter. Now I can see git status, and I can see that there are no commits yet, but first file has been added. Now I can make a commit. I use git commit, and then I'm going to say that uses the -m flag to say I'm going to write a message. And I'm going to say add first file. So it's common practice to use the imperative, I guess, mood, say add instead of added, or I added, or something like that. But for this class, whatever commit messages you want to make, they're fine. But I'm going to have to make a message here. And I believe I can use both single quotes. I can use either single quotes or double quotes. Out of habit, I use double quotes, but I think I can also say add first file, and I can use single quotes. So at this point, because this is a brand new GitHub user, it is prompting me to make sure that my name and my email are correct. And they probably all are already, but I could just so it just says you can suppress this message by setting them explicitly. So I might as well just do that. So I can say git config global user.name, and then I'll say my name is Lucy Williams, and I'll set user email, and I did Lucy Williams cs.montana.edu. And now I believe I won't see this message anymore. Maybe I will actually try. So I'm claiming that even if I make another commit, I won't see that message anymore. So let's make a small change to first file. And here is a second line. So I'm going to write quit. And now let's check git status. We see first file was modified, so I'm going to add it. And now I'm going to commit, change file. And indeed, I didn't see that message. So you can just do what I did and set your username and user email, then you won't see that anymore. So let's see what needs to help happen next. Okay. So we made that commit. So next we need to add a tag. So when building, say, a big software project, these tags are usually used for releases. But for us, we're going to use them to mark the point where you want me to grade your work. So say you were working on the first lab and you finish it, you've checked that you've satisfied all the requirements, you've checked that your output looks exactly like the provided output, then you will add a tag for that lab. And then if you come back to it later and you make a change, that's fine. I'm gonna grade whatever the tag was. And you can, if you were to add a tag and then a couple hours later realize you made a mistake, you can update your tag. But I'll show you just the basics of adding a tag. So I'm going to say git tag, and it needs to be classwork1. Classwork1, all one word. And now, in order to, I have all these changes locally on our server. In order to push them to the GitHub server, I need to do a git push. And in order to push the tags, I think it's just dash tag. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to press Control-C here because there was one other thing. To save your credentials so that you don't need to re-enter them every time you push, you can run this. So I'm just going to run this. So I thought that I could run my credential helper store first, but I think I actually need to run git push tag, and I'm going to try entering my credentials. So was it test MSU student? And again, I don't know my password, gonna go. Okay, actually typing it. Well, I guess you'll see it, but I can change it later. Just to throw away password. Was it 21 or 12? Let's try. Let's also make sure that I have the right username. Sorry about this. Test MSU student. Okay, so I want to push test MSU student. Bozeman, Montana 12? That's what the password is. And now I'm going to try, let's see what happens when I run my credential store command. Okay, now let me try to push. Okay, so that seemed to work for me. So I guess push first, and then you can run this command. So there's this note here. So this is not a very secure way to store your credentials because it stores them in a plain text file. So let's just take a look at that. So it's in Git credentials in your home directory. So let's just get to our home directory. And, oh, that was, instead of doing cd home, I did pwd home. So cd home, and now I'm going to do ls-a, and I see I now have this git credentials file, right? And let's take a look at it. Git-credentials. And you can see just right here, I have my username and my password. So in general, that's not a good practice, but if you don't think that there's any reason that a malicious user would get a hold of those, then it's okay. So for now, we can just go with that. Again, if you wanted to use SSH for your cloning process, then there's a more secure way of doing this. But for this class, this is fine. Oh, okay. And then we already pushed, so I'll actually change these instructions a little bit to be the correct order. But we have now, we would get credit for pushing that tag. So let's go see over here, and let's go look at our repository. Because we've pushed these changes, we can see that file that we created we can see it through the browser, and we can also see our tag. So if you're ever concerned about whether you successfully pushed your tag or not, you can always check on the browser by just going into that directory. So here I am, if I'm logged in, and then I find this CSCI112 directory. First off, I'll see everything that I've pushed here, and I'll see all my tags when I go over here and click on tags. So that is our introduction to using Git and GitHub for turning in work in this class. We'll continue to talk about Git and learn more of what's actually going on here, but mechanically, for today, we just need to be able to push that tag up.